The scream echoed through the valley long after the sound should have died. It was not a roar of rage. It was pain, pure, ancient, and desperate. Cale froze where he stood, fingers still gripping the edge of his tool case. The ground beneath his boots trembled, not from power, but from weakness struggling to survive. Smoke drifted through the broken rocks, carrying the scent of burned scales and old blood. He had followed the sound by instinct, the same instinct that had kept him alive when wars tore the world apart and left men like him with nothing but scraps and regret. Then he saw it. The dragon lay half buried in the ash, wings torn and folded like shattered sails. Its scales were dull, cracked, stripped of their former glory. One horn was broken clean near the base. Heavy chains carved with glowing runes wrapped around its neck and limbs, sinking into flesh as if the metal hated what it bound. But it was the eyes that broke Kel's breath. They were open, wide, empty. Blind. The dragon thrashed weakly when it sensed movement, claws scraping stone, tail dragging helpless lines through the dust. A creature once feared by kings now trembled like prey waiting for the final blow. Cale should have run. Everyone knew the stories. Dragons were cursed beasts, destroyers of cities, enemies of mankind. Helping one was treason. Even standing this close was a death wish. But Cale did not see a monster. He saw himself years ago. Cale had been a brilliant engineer in the capital. He had designed machines meant to heal land poisoned by war. The council laughed. They called him naive. When his final prototype failed during a rushed test, they blamed him for everything. Careers were saved by sacrificing his. He was exiled with nothing but his hands and his guilt. Now, standing before a blind dragon left to die, the universe felt cruelly familiar. Slowly, Cale set his tools down. "I won't hurt you," he said, voice shaking. "I swear." The dragon snapped its jaws, missing him by meters, panic making it dangerous. Cale stayed still, letting the fear pass. Hours later, when the dragon's breathing slowed from agony to exhaustion, Cale approached again. He returned the next night, and the next. He brought water siphoned from underground pipes. He cleaned infected wounds with trembling care. He removed shattered metal lodged between scales. Each time, the dragon learned his scent, his sound, his patience. On the seventh night, Cale spoke. "My name is Cale," he said softly. "You don't have to answer." The dragon exhaled slowly. That was enough. Weeks passed. Cale learned the truth carved into the dragon's body. The chains were not just restraints. They were punishment. Ancient kings had feared what dragons remembered. Dragons carried memories older than empires, truths that could undo lies used to control nations. So they were blinded. The dragon's name, whispered through pain and memory, was Aerith. Aerith had not attacked cities. It had refused to forget. Cale wept when he understood. He knew how to fix broken machines. He knew how to bridge impossible systems. Magic terrified him, but mechanics did not. So he began to build. Using scavenged lenses from fallen skycraft, neural filaments from medical drones, and alloy strong enough to survive dragonfire, Cale worked by night. He studied ancient texts by flickering light. He burned his hands, cut his skin, nearly blinded himself more than once. The visor took shape slowly. It was not magic. It was not technology. It was hope forced into metal. When he brought it to Aerith, the dragon recoiled in terror. Chains rattled. Smoke curled from its throat. "I know they hurt you," Cale whispered. "But please, let me try." The visor touched the dragon's face. Pain exploded. Aerith screamed, the sound ripping through Cale's bones. The runes on the chains flared violently. Light burst outward, throwing Cale into stone so hard he felt ribs crack. Darkness swallowed him. When Cale woke, the valley was silent. He forced his eyes open. Aerith stood before him. Still. Watching. Golden light burned behind the lenses, focused and alive. The dragon's massive head lowered until its breath washed over Cale like warm wind. It saw him. Aerith did not attack. Instead, a tear of molten gold slid down its cheek and hissed when it hit the ground. For the first time in centuries, a dragon remembered the sky. They were not alone long. Soldiers came first, drawn by reports of light and roars. Then hunters, then commanders bearing banners and judgment. They called Cale a traitor, A fool who had armed a weapon of mass destruction. They bound him in shock chains. Aerith roared, fury shaking the valley. But the old chains still held it. The soldiers raised their weapons, ready to finish what fear had started long ago. The commander lifted his hand. "Kill the mechanic," he ordered. "Then we blind the beast again." Kale closed his eyes. The chains around Aerith shattered. Magic screamed as ancient runes broke like glass. Fire erupted, not wild, but controlled. Soldiers were thrown back, weapons melted. Courage burned away. Aerith stood over Kale, wings spread, shielding him from death. Then the sky darkened, for massive shapes descended through the clouds, silent and impossible. Space cruisers older than kingdoms hovered above the valley, their hulls marked with symbols forgotten by time. Everyone fell to their knees. The cruisers spoke without sound. Dragons were not monsters. They were witnesses, and someone had restored one. The cruisers did not come to punish. They came to honor a debt. Kale was offered a place among the stars, knowledge beyond worlds, power beyond fear. He looked at Aerith. Aerith lowered its head and touched Kale gently. A silent promise. Kale chose to stay. The cruisers left. Aerith rose into the sky weeks later, visor gleaming, wings scarred but strong. It did not burn cities. It watched them and in a forgotten valley. A broken mechanic and a once blind dragon proved that kindness, even when punished, can shake the universe. Some wounds are healed not by power, but by being seen.